Hi everybody and welcome to week 3. This week we're going to be looking at nutrients in food from a very biological perspective. We're going to be covering the macronutrients, protein, fat and carbohydrate. And you can see on the Blackboard site there I've put up the some questions from 3 chapters in the TAPSL textbook. Remember, the TAPSL textbook is the main textbook you'll need for this semester, and there are many copies available in the library. There's also online copies available from the library website that you can look at remotely. So I encourage you to do the readings from the textbook and also answer the questions that I've put up on the Blackboard site. So we'll be looking at the role and function of the different macronutrients in the body. We'll have a look at the food sources of these macronutrients, and we'll also look at how these macronutrients are digested and absorbed in the body once we consume them in our diet. And I encourage you to consider some of the strengths and weaknesses of looking at nutrition from a biological perspective. So while it gives us some good in-depth understanding of how nutrients function in the body, it's not the complete picture of understanding how overall nutrition influences health. We've also got to consider some of the social and environmental factors that we looked at last week when thinking about how food and nutrition impacts on our health. And I've put a few articles that allow you to read in more detail about these macronutrients up on the Blackboard site. There's also some chapters from the Whitney textbook which really go into some of the chemistry of the different nutrients in more detail, and some articles about protein and also fat and carbohydrate up on the website. So I've also put a Ready Reckoner which allows you to assess your diet for macronutrient intake. So if you use that Ready Reckoner, perhaps write down what you have eaten in the last 24 hours and then use that Ready Reckoner to see to estimate how much fat, carbohydrate and protein you've actually consumed. There are also other methods of assessing your diet, so things like the Easy Diet Diary app, that you can also do this. But it would be interesting to see how much of each macronutrient you're consuming, and then perhaps have a look at the NRVs that we looked at last week and compare to see whether you meet some of the recommendations for the acceptable macronutrient distribution ranges. I hope you enjoyed this week. Don't forget the quiz will be up, and you'll need to complete that by next Friday. I look forward to catching up with you again next week.